Good evening, you're watching Goa 365 and I'm Nisa Dias here to remind you of the people and events that made news in the week that went by. SEZ issue continued to dominate the week that went by. NGOs and political parties voiced happiness at the disclosures by the union government. At the same time, there was a lot of rumbling in the government as pro-SEZ ministers and MLAs were out to topple Chief Minister Digambar Kamath. Last week brought smiles on the faces of Goans with the assurance given by the Union Commerce Minister Kamal Nath that notified special economic zones can be reversed and that the central government would not impose it on the state. However, convener of GMAS, after the statement of the Commerce Secretary, had urged the MLAs to pass a resolution in the ongoing assembly to cancel all the SEZs. Bharatiya Janata Party sought to discourage the state government and bureaucrats from mishandling the SEZ issue, with former Chief Minister Manohar Parrikar threatening to file criminal cases against all those involved in the land scam and approval process of SEZs. This had the desired effect on the bureaucrats, as the Babus know that ultimately they would be held responsible for any scam, while their ever-changing bosses would wash their hands and get away scot-free. Nationalist Congress Party Chief in Goa, Dr. Wilfred D'Souza, upped his ante and congratulated the Chief Minister for scrapping SEZs. He went a step ahead and warned of successive governments of reviving the same. Dr. Willie, as he is rightly known, of course speaks from experience, because under the guise of continuous governance, new incumbents carry on with the work of previous governments when it befits them. Remember, Manohar Parrikar topped Francisco Sardina because of the EDC bond scam and promised to cancel the bonds once he took over. Ultimately, Manohar Parrikar continued with the fraud of his predecessor, and his explanation then was that if his government had to cancel it, it would give Goa a bad name and investors would hesitate to invest in the state. This same man revised setting up of international airport at Mopa in Pernem, initially initiated by the Congress government. And All India Trade Union Congress General Secretary Christopher Fonseca welcomed the decision of the state government to scrap SEZs from the state, but maintained that there is a need to set up more industries in Goa. There is absolutely no doubt that Goa needs more industries, but when Fonseca says it, it has to be taken with a pinch of salt, simply because more the industries means numbers of the members in the trade unions swell, thus giving them more bargaining power. And stronger the unions, more troubles and burdens for the management of the industries by way of strikes, demonstrations with active support of seasoned trade union leaders like Christopher Fonseca. Last week, the traffic police celebrated the Traffic Safety Week. In fact, this has become more of a ritual than anything else. Otherwise, how can the police and the RTO explain increasing number of deaths due to road accidents year after year? In 2006, the tally of such deaths was 273, while last year it was 322. This year's theme for Road Safety Week is Drive to Care, not to Dare. But when police do not dare, motorists simply do not care for traffic rules. However, by the end of the week, the police and the RTO forgot that they had vowed to decrease the number of road accidents, as immediately thereafter, a speeding bus claimed a young life at Fatorda. More than the police, RTO are to be blamed for the increasing number of accidents. It is because they issue licenses and permits for drivers. It is an open secret that licenses can be obtained for a price, greasing the palms of RTO officers, and also using influence. RTO has two wings, registration and enforcement. To be in the registration section is very lucrative, as licensing, passing of public vehicles is done for a price, and most officers eye this section, while enforcement is not so lucrative as it demands standing in the open or hot sun to enforce Motor Vehicle Act. It is a very rare sight to see RTO on our highways. And while the Road Safety Week was being celebrated, freedom fighter Gurunath Kelekar, convener of Movement for Amity towards Roads in Goa, who for years now tried to bring about discipline in driving, resorted to indefinite hunger strike to protest against the insensitivity of the successive governments to curb the increasing graph of accidents. The traditional feast of Epiphany, popularly known as Three Kings Feast, was celebrated at Consalim, Shandor and Reis Mangos. The Feast of the Three Kings commemorates a journey undertaken by three wise men nearly 2000 years ago to the town of Bethlehem to pay homage to infant Jesus. The Feast of Three Kings marks the end of Christmas season. Health Minister Vishwajit Rane was formally charged for issuing threat to kill to social activist Iris Rodriguez and was made to walk up the steps of the court and secure bail. Vishwajit now gets a rare distinction of being the first minister to be ordered to be physically present in the court. Politicians are supposed to be role models and lead from the front, but issuing threats to kill is very unbecoming. But then politicians are known to do worse and also to project a different image of themselves in public. The Goa Tourism Development Corporation Limited seems to have finally realized that Goa has more potential other than just beach to promote tourism. Last week they launched its first houseboat named Santa Lucia at Shapora River, thus to explore the backwaters of Goa. The boathouse Santa Lucia is designed with eco-friendly material like bamboo mats, areca tree leaves and coir, and has 3 luxury rooms, a large sun deck, a spacious living area. There is also a qualified Ayurvedic doctor on board offering the guests rejuvenating massages. Union Minister of Shipping, Roads, Transport and Highways, Mr. T.R. Balu came a-calling and made announcements of crores of rupees for developmental projects for Goa. We hope that the announcements become a reality. Mr. Balu disclosed plans to upgrade a berth of amphitheatre at the cost of rupees 250 crores and various other bays at Mormungao Port Trust for handling cargo, containers and cruise liners at the cost of rupees 750 crores. And while Vishwajit Rane, after bagging the health portfolio for himself, visited most of the government-run hospitals, made grand disclosures of upgradation of health sector in Goa, utterly failed to address issues concerning its workers. Last week, Class 4 employees struck work in almost all the hospitals, thereby badly affecting the functioning. These employees just wanted the government to fulfill their long-pending demands. The government, or ministers in particular, do not hesitate to spend crores of rupees on undertaking constructions and purchasing equipment, but when it comes to enhancing the wages of its employees, the government acts as a snail's pace. As the strike reached third day and work burden started piling up at various government hospitals, the minister gave in to most of their demands. What promoted the health minister to act fast was not the deteriorating condition, but his arch rival Puthi Gaonkar was leading the employees, and North Goa MP also visited the striking employees at GMC. Power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely was once again clear when Transport Minister Pandurang Matkaikar directed 2 persons to be arrested for requesting him to make space for them in the ferry to cross over to the other side from Sant Estevão to Old Goa. While one of the persons was headed to the airport to board a flight to Bombay for an onward journey to Gulf country, the other family had 2 minor children and were headed far down south. The uncouth minister not only refused to budge, but saw to it that the 2 persons who had requested him were detained at Ribandar police outpost till the wee hours of next morning. Worse still, the brazen personal security officer of the minister